A few years ago, when I first hiked a Thousand Island Lake, I thought it had such a wonderful, fanciful name. It was almost something a marketing department would come up with to encourage visitors. Conjured up a place you just had to see. But unlike some advertising pitches, this place won't disappoint you. This 4-day, 28-mile backpacking trip starts at the Rush Creek Trailhead near June Lake, California. Directions to the parking lot are in the description. The first day covers 10 miles and climbs 2,360 feet. Trust me, it gets easier after that. Depending on the season, the first 5 miles may be dry, so carry at least a liter of water, or more if it's hot. This is one of those slather on the sunscreen, waste no time trails. It steadily climbs with no shade as it traverses the hillside above Silver Lake. The route eventually hits a series of switchbacks and these 100-year-old tracks, which we crossed twice. They originally came from a mining operation that went bust and are now used to haul materials to a dam above us. After about 2.5 miles, we come to this, Agnew Lake, part of the Southern California Edison hydroelectric project built about 100 years ago on Rush Creek. We're going to be passing 3 dams today. Now remember, much of this area is in the Ansel Adams Wilderness where machines aren't allowed. And that means whenever dam maintenance is necessary, they have to bring most of the building materials up by mule. Hundreds of mules over the course of the work. I'm sure Edison apologizes in advance for any inconvenience that might cause. And the climbing continues. We gain about 600 feet to reach Gem Lake. Before the dam was completed in 1917, there were 3 small lakes here connected by Rush Creek. While the large lake is a gorgeous splash of blue, I think there is something to be said for the coziness of small mountain lakes. And this section would have been far different if the dam wasn't here. As you ponder this, the trail around Gem Lake bops up and down, sometimes passing by the nattering leaves of a shaded aspen grove. After 4.7 total miles, we reach Crest Creek, pouring out of alpine lakes way above us, and a junction with the Alger Lake Trail, which makes a hard right. Spoiler alert, we will camp here on the 3rd night of the trip. Now continue straight as the trail climbs again, this time briefly, before dropping to Billy Lake, our first natural body of water on the trail. The route soon hits another junction where we turn right, headed for Waugh Lake, 1.7 miles away. Rush Creek rushes below us. In 2017, Waugh Lake was drained and is looking a little less than scenic. We continue around the Ghost Lake with the climb letting up a bit before reaching our last junction of the day for Weber Lake. Continue to the right. Next, cross an unnamed creek. Then finally, we hit Rush Creek again. We just made it to our camp for the night. The second day involves some climbing over the course of about 4 miles to reach Thousand Island Lake. So, after a quarter of a mile, we come to the John Muir and Pacific Crest Trails. We want to turn left that way. Now, if you were to turn right and go north, you would go over 11,000-foot Donahue Pass and enter Yosemite National Park. Now, that's where most of the JMT hikers are coming from on their 211-mile hike to Mount Whitney. That trek usually takes 2 to 3 weeks, although a guy named Stringbean recently did it in a little more than 3 days. The JMT was completed in 1938, often following a route once used by Paiute, Shoshone, and other natives for, I don't know, hundreds of years. For that reason, some people would prefer to call it the Paiute Road or People's Trail. Now, it seems to me it wouldn't hurt if the powers that be would rename the JMT to honor its heritage, but no one's asking me. This is one of those trails where if all you do is stare straight ahead, you'll miss a lot. Stop. Look behind you to Donahue Pass and Donahue Peak. Feel sorry for those headed up that steep trail. Or, about a quarter mile before Island Pass, veer off the trail for this first view of imposing Banner Peak. You really don't need to jump rocks to see it. After crossing nondescript Island Pass at 10,225 feet, we start dropping into the Thousand Island Lake Basin. Now, if you haven't seen them already, expect a few passing pack trains hauling supplies and gear for hikers who like camping, but not with those pesky heavy backpacks. I have to admit, I'm jealous. Always stand to the side as the horses and mules pass. And then watch out for the landmines that follow. After nearly 2 miles since Island Pass, there's this trail junction where the PCT and JMT split. We leave both of them and turn right for a campsite at the lake. Now keep in mind, you'll need to hike in about a half mile or more before you reach any legal camps, of which there are plenty. Just the same, try to arrive early if you can. This is a popular place. With that in mind, I suggest you filter all the water you take from the lake. And now, a few stats on Thousand Island Lake, in case you're interested. Elevation, 9,833 feet, 2.5 miles long. The name first appeared on maps way back in 1896. By the way, John Muir, in a moment of banality, wanted to call it Islet Lake. The more fanciful moniker thankfully stuck. Dominating the background is Banner Peak at more than 12,900 feet. I've summited that sucker. It looks hard from the lakeside, but there's a Class 3 route on the other side that isn't quite the same technical challenge. Lastly, this is known as a glacial tarn, meaning it formed after a glacier that once sat here retreated and carved out a bowl on its way out. While the less than 1,000 islands and Banner Peak are spectacular during the day, don't forget to look out of your tent for the cosmic show at night. The next morning, we have a slightly more than 6-mile hike back to Gem Lake. Now, once back at the PCT JMT junction, continue straight on the PCT headed south. After a mile, we hit this junction with a river trail. Head straight, veering left. The trail climbs to the Clark Lakes Trail, which we want, so turn left. For about a half mile, the path ascends to a pass and then drops into the Clark Lakes Basin. If you want to make this a short day, there are plenty of campsites here. On the other hand, we want to go an extra 2.5 miles to Gem Lake. That last segment for the day starts at this junction at the north end of Clark Lakes. The trail drops through shaded forest with an occasional short climb to keep you honest before returning you to the trail from day one. There are more campsites here with Rush Creek supplying the water. However, we climb above Billy Lake and drop to Gem Lake, where there are campsites, and Crest Creek for water. On our last day, we retrace our route from the first day back to the trailhead, 4.7 miles away. Along the way, we will surely meet fellow hikers climbing while we descend. And you have to ask yourself, do I tell them they're almost there? Nah, just say how beautiful it is and leave it at that. So, if you like this video, camp on that subscribe button. Each week I post a new trip. And in the meantime, go to the woods. No matter who you are.